We'll be presenting today about accessible Canvas related items. With the caution that we covered Canvas and we also presented Canvas like in the very first presentation. So that is more, so this one is more about Canvas in terms of using the Canvas pages, creating quiz, creating assignments. What are some of the things that we should we should be very careful about when we are creating all those assessments or using the Canvas pages or even adding Panopto videos or Zoom links or Zoom videos into Canvas courses. So this presentation is more focused on those aspects. So in terms of agenda, so these are the big elements that we will be covering today. Accessible Canvas elements, quizzes, assignments, discussions. In terms of assessments, for example, how can we use Canvas pages for the accessibility purpose? What are some of the ways that we can do the accommodations in Canvas? Also, we'll be talking more about the Canvas accessible class sessions and recordings. Because our instructors either use Zoom and Panopto, so we are just focusing those two big elements here. And in the very end, we'll just talk about how to use or how to manage unused files in Canvas. So this is basically what our presentation will be is all about. I will quickly jump to the quizzes. In terms of creating Canvas quizzes, there's a recommendation of using generous windows. So again, there is no time limit for that, but the idea is that not to be in a rush, to be more inclusive of all the students. Depending on the special needs of the students and all that, it is recommended to have at least some generous windows for those students as well, so that it would be more inclusive in that sense. Something like around 72 hours at least give a good window for the students to complete the quiz. Again, it is needless to say that everything should be basically will be communicated to the learner in the syllabus as well. In terms of creating a quizzes in Canvas, again, it is recommended to enable one question at a time to reduce the cognitive load. Again, I'm more focusing on from the students from the inclusion point of view as well. So we just try to include some screenshots that how we can do that in Canvas. Like for example, while you're building that in the settings, there is an option of displaying one question at a time, or allow backtracking, or even if you do not want to allow backtracking is again more accessible in terms of that. So if you can want to include that feature, this is how also you can this is how you can do that. Again, in terms of language, the idea here is that to use very simple language, do avoid long or complex wording, again depending on the course, but the idea here is that to use the simple language, for example, so that if the screen reader has been used, at least it will be helpful for the learner to understand that part. For math related questions, sometimes what has been seen that the instructor use images, for example, about this formula, they can just use images as well, which is like this one. So it is very difficult for the screen reader to use. So try to use any other software, a third-party software or any other software that is either freely available or third-party that basically can help to write particular those formulas. MathJax is one of that, but you can find that other can be found as well just for this purpose. Again, the same thing, I'm just trying to make it a little bit bigger. For example, from the screen reader point of view as well, if there are some pictures that has been added and that cannot be avoided in any way, the recommendation is basically to add alt text here. So for example, here, if you can see that picture has been added here and the alt text has been provided. Again, the idea is to that how the screen reader user can basically uh, be use these things, or this quiz can be more inclusive in that sense. Avoid questions that has so because there are lots of options of creating quiz in Canvas, try to avoid some hotspot kind of questions. Like for example, sometimes when hotspot is more about, we saw that in our screens as well, when sometimes a browser asks us to find where is the fire hydrant, and then we just start clicking on that. So try to avoid those kinds of questions, because it is very hard for the screen reader to read all those questions. And also the main area is to use very accessible formats. Two of the main accessible formats are MCQs and short answers. Moving on for the assignments as well. Again, we are talking about the Canvas. So for example, Canvas quizzes, Canvas assignments, and Canvas discussion boards here. Um, for the assignment purposes, try to use clear and step-by-step instructions. Again, numbered instructions. If there is step-by-step instructions are there, so it should be numbered rather than the bulleted and all that. Also, it is always recommended, as far as the assignments are concerned, to use the rubrics. Sometimes the instructors attach the rubrics or add the rubrics into the syllabus page, but Canvas also has an option of adding the rubric with every assignment. So it is recommended to use the rubric so that the students know that how they will be evaluated based on that rubric. It would be helpful for the students as well in terms of in terms of basically doing that assignment as well. For the assignments, again, these are some of the things that basically most of the instructors do. Again, if there is a need of doing that, those of the files should be accessible. So for example, if the instructor, there is no choice of using there's no choice of other than using Word or PowerPoint or PDF, then there's a recommendation that those files should be accessible. Otherwise, it will be helpful if they can use the assignment area for creating those assignments as well. Avoid scanned PDF. Sometimes the instructors just add the images of the PDFs. Again, this is not accessible in any way. Try to make it more accessible from the very first thing. So including the accessible PDF is the required in some way. In terms of due dates, set proper due dates plus available and until dates as well. So for example, sometimes the while creating the assignment, the Canvas has the option of basically, if you see on the right hand side of the screen, of two options. So for example, if you what is the due date, when this is available from, and till even. So most of the time, the instructor just focused on the due date, and this is automatically always set if you want to do that. So the instructor needs to be really careful in terms of using those dates in a proper way, that what they actually want to do here. Also, for example, if there is a need of providing some kind of extension, Canvas also had a feature of even assigning it to specific person. For example, for the extension purposes, Canvas can even do that for a specific purpose here. So for example, here, if you can see that it has been done for one of the student here. So Canvas basically allows this flexibility as well to do it for once, so for a single student as well in terms of extensions. Moving on for the discussion boards, again, the idea is that to make it much more simpler. So for example, this discussion prompt should say what is being asked in the discussion. So for example, if you see in this particular screenshot, there's like step-by-step instruction what is being required. So for example, here the student is being asked for using the initial post and the replies as well. So there's two sections that has been done here. So for the initial post, this is something that is being required, and for the reply post, the students has to at least reply to classmates with the helpful suggestions and all that. So step by instructions that what is required in that particular discussion is very helpful for the students in that way. Using headings and short paragraphs. So for example, using the proper heading structure, H2, H3, and for example, in terms of if definitely if there is another thing that has been added, divide that in different paragraphs for the readability purposes. If the instructors are adding any images, it is recommended to use alt text for that purposes. And again, while we are creating all those things in Canvas environment, there is a rich content editor that basically helps in creating all those accessible, more accessible kind of assignments and discussion boards as well. So here we'll cover more in terms of Canvas pages. We are covering more of rich content editor. So I'll just stop here and ask Cash to take over from here.
Thanks, Mohammed. Canvas pages work similarly to a web page where you can add text, images, links to external websites, and more. When adding text, make sure it uses the proper heading structure. If you include images, you should add alternative text so screen readers can describe them to users, unless the images are purely decorative, in which case you should mark them as decorative. When adding links, make sure they are descriptive. Avoid using phrases like click here or this link, as they can be confusing for screen reader users. Like most other elements in Canvas, pages use the Rich Content Editor, also known as RCE. The RCE includes its own accessibility checker at the bottom of the editor, which displays the number of accessibility issues on your page. If you click it, a panel will appear on the right-hand side showing each issue along with guidance on how to fix it. For example, here I intentionally use dashes instead of the RCE's built-in bullet list feature. The accessibility checker identifies this as an issue and recommends converting the text into a proper list. When you check the box and click apply, your list will automatically be formatted with bullet points, resolving the accessibility issue. In terms of accommodations, Canvas provides two main options. The first is within an assignment, where you can use the Assign To section to extend the assignment due date for a specific student. The second is to grant extra time on Canvas quizzes. This can be done from within the quiz by selecting the Moderate tab. Once you're there, find the student to whom you would like to grant extra time and click on their name. From the Time Adjustments drop-down menu, select Give Additional Time. Enter the amount of extra time you want to provide and click Save. After saving, you'll see the additional time displayed under the Accommodations column for that specific student. Illinois Tech currently uses Zoom and Panopto as its primary tools for online class sessions and lecture capture. Let's start with Zoom. To make your online Zoom class sessions accessible, be sure to enable automated captions. You can do this by going to Settings, selecting Meeting, then navigating to In-Meeting Advanced, and turning on automated captions or closed captions depending on your Zoom version. Once you're in the Zoom meeting, click Show Captions to display the captions for all participants. This screenshot shows how to enable automated captions during a Zoom session. While you're in a meeting, click Settings at the bottom of the Zoom window. In the window that opens, select Accessibility from the menu on the right. Here, you can customize your captions by adjusting the font size, color, font type, and even their position on the screen. You'll see a live preview of your selections in this window. Once you're satisfied with your settings, enable the last option, Always Show Captions in Meetings and Webinars, to ensure captions are displayed automatically whenever you join a meeting or webinar. The second tip is to always record your Zoom sessions with captions enabled. Make sure your meetings are set to record automatically to the cloud. After the meeting ends, the recording will be processed and made available in Panopto, with processing time depending on the size of the recording. As a final tip, make sure the tracking field is not left blank when setting up your Zoom sessions. When creating recurring meetings, it's recommended to enable join before host so students can join early and be ready before class begins. You should also avoid muting participants upon entry unless there is a specific reason to do so. In addition, make sure automatically record meeting is enabled and set to record to the cloud. Finally, verify that the tracking field contains a valid number. This indicates that a Panopto folder has been created for your course, allowing your Zoom recordings to be automatically transferred to the appropriate location in your Canvas course. Before your class begins, it's a good practice to share your course materials with the students in advance. Upload your slides, handouts, or PDF documents to your Canvas course, such as in modules, files, or directly on the meeting page. This gives the students the opportunity to review the materials ahead of time and follow along more easily during class. Also, make sure your documents are accessible. Use proper heading styles to organize your content. Choose readable fonts and include alternative text for any meaningful images so that they can be understood by students using screen readers. As you present, remember to describe any important visual content out loud. If you're showing a chart, graph, image, or demonstration, briefly explain what the students should be looking at instead of assuming everyone can see it. Try to avoid phrases like, "as you can see here," without providing additional context. Instead, briefly describe the key information on the screen. This helps students who use the screen readers, have low vision, or are joining by audio only stay engaged and understand the material just as effectively as everyone else. Panopto is Illinois Tech's lecture capture platform, where all class recordings are stored. As the first accessibility tip, always review and edit the captions for your recordings. While Panopto automatically generates captions, they may contain errors, so it's a good practice to review them and correct any inaccuracies. When you hover over a recording in your Panopto folder within Canvas, you'll see an edit button at the top of the video. Click Edit to open the video editing page. Then select Captions from the menu on the left. Here, you'll see the captions alongside their timestamps. Review the captions, make any necessary corrections, and save your changes to ensure your recordings are as accurate and accessible as possible. When recording with Panopto, remember to describe important visual content as you present. If you're showing charts, graphs, images, diagrams, or demonstrating something on your screen, briefly explain what students should be looking at instead of assuming everyone can see it. For example, rather than saying, "as you can see on this chart," describe the information directly. You might say, "the bar chart shows enrollment increasing from 1,200 students in 2022 to 1,800 students in 2025. This helps students with visual impairments, as well as anyone listening to the recording without watching the video. Another way to improve accessibility is to keep your videos organized and easy to navigate. Give your recordings meaningful titles so students can quickly identify the content they need. For longer recordings, consider adding table of contents entries. These create timestamps that divide your video into sections, allowing students to jump directly to specific topics instead of searching through the entire recording. This makes your recordings much easier to navigate and improves the overall learning experience. To organize the table of contents in your video, hover over the video and click the Edit button at the top. Then, from the menu on the left, select Contents. Here, you can add timestamps and titles for each section of your recording. Once you're finished, click Apply to save your changes. As the students watch the video, these entries will appear as a table of contents, allowing them to quickly jump to specific topics instead of scrolling through the entire recording. This makes your videos much easier to navigate, especially if they are longer or cover multiple topics. Keeping your course files organized is another important accessibility best practice. Removing unused files makes it easier for instructors to manage course content and helps ensure that the students only have access to the materials they actually need. Regularly managing unused files is a simple way to keep your Canvas course organized, accurate, and easier for students to navigate. It also helps you stay within Canvas's 1 GB course storage limit. Start by removing files that are no longer needed. This frees up storage space and reduces confusion by ensuring students only see the materials that are relevant to the course. As you view your files, look for duplicate documents, older versions of files, or outdated content that has been replaced. These are usually the best candidates for removal. Before deleting anything, run the Validate Links and Content tool. This allows you to identify any broken or outdated links and verify that the files you're about to remove are no longer being used anywhere in your course. Finally, once you've confirmed that the files are no longer needed, delete them from the Files area. Just be mindful not to remove files that are still linked in course content or have been submitted by students, as doing so may affect your course materials or student records. The Center for Learning Innovation, CLI, is continuously developing resources and guidance to help you make all of your course materials accessible, including PDFs, Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, Excel files, and even videos. To learn more about digital accessibility and access additional resources, please visit the Digital Accessibility page on the CLI website. Thank you for taking the time to make your course content more accessible and inclusive for all learners.